Hello and welcome to Skimo Gold. This is the premier podcast and YouTube show for ski mountaineering interviews and race analysis. I am excited to be joined today by our regular co-host, the one and only Cam Smith, and also Doug Stenclik from Cripple Creek Backcountry. We are talking about the Power of Four, one of the marquee skimo races in the United States, and I might even say in the world. Thanks as always to Camp and Redmond Real Salt for supporting the podcast. If I was doing the Power of Four and if I was approaching that final climb up Midnight Road, one of the longest climbs in the world, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the Power of Four. You've been going a long time. You still have a long time left. Very often this final climb gets warm, it gets sunny, you can encounter challenges like snow sticking to your climbing skins and much more, as we'll tell you in the race today. If I was doing that, I would be wearing this glove. If you're looking on YouTube, you can see it. This is the Camp G Comp Warm. Most of the race, I'd probably have it in mitten mode like this. But that final climb, boom, take off the mitten. You got the glove here. This is thin. The fingers are very dexterous and deft, and you can do everything you want. This is my daily driver. When I'm wearing it, I'm taking it constantly on and off like that. And nowhere is it better than that final climb in the Power of Four because, frankly, it gets warm out there. You might even find yourself with no gloves on that final climb. I would also be using this stuff, Redmond Relight, my favorite electrolyte drink mix. And what I would do is at the bottom of that climb, there's an aid station. Stop there, take your time. Again, you've been going for quite a while. It's probably getting warm. Chug some water while you're there and then fill up your soft flasks. Here's what I would do. This is a 600 milliliter soft flask. I would take one of these with pure water in it, and then I would take the other soft flask, so two of them total. I'd put a scoop of Relight in there. This is 810 milligrams of sodium plus all the other good stuff, and then head up that climb. And going up there, you've got, again, one that's pure water, one that's the Relight, and that's a lot of sodium, but you're going to need it. You're probably running low by then, and it might be getting hot. Throughout that climb, back and forth between the water and the Relight, and then also what I would do is hit a gel every 20 minutes, maybe make one of those a caffeinated gel. You're really going to need the energy flowing. That's what I tell my clients to do who are doing the race, and that's what I would do as well. Here we are, Power of Four episode. This is evergreen stuff because this is one of the best races around, and what we're bringing you here is something pretty unique. Cam Smith, one of the best performers ever in Power of Four, and of course many other events, and also Doug, who we find out Doug has set the course many times for Power of Four. So there's not two guys who know more about this than Cam and Doug. Please be sure to check out Doug and Cripple Creek Backcountry. Just Google them. Check out their in-person stores. My endurance coaching clients who want to get into Skimo, the first thing I tell them is go to Cripple Creek Backcountry, try on the boots, look at the skis, find out what you want, get yourself some skins. These guys know how to set you up. So find them in person, find them on social media. Also find them on the podcast. Totally Deep is their podcast, and it's fantastic. You can find Cam on Instagram at Cam from CB. You can find me at Travis Macy and also TravisMacy.com. All right, folks, time to roll. Skimo Gold. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Skimo Gold podcast. We are talking today about another classic event, the Power of Four in the Aspen Snowmass area. We'll mention briefly the Power of Two, where you do kind of the second half of the course. Pleased to be joined today by Cam and also Doug from Cripple Creek Backcountry. Doug, tell us a little bit about what's going on at Cripple Creek Backcountry these days.
Yeah, so it's good we're here to talk about the Power Four because that is the one race that me and my partner Randy did that predated the shop. We've been around about 14 years now, so I think my first Power Four was probably 15 years ago, and it was an incredible experience to kind of see all light gear in one place because you take a bus from the Intercept lot usually up to Snowmass. So you're loading into it with tons of people with skinny skis. And I thought I was the only person that owned it at the time. I was still living in Portland, Oregon. But yeah, now we kit tons of people out for racing specifically for light touring, and psyched for a big season ahead.
Excellent. Power of Four is epic. I know as I was getting into Skimo, it was this thing that was kind of out there, and for me, coming from more of a running, cycling background and not having a ton of ski experience, it was intimidating. It's the Power of Four has very challenging uphill and downhill skiing for someone who doesn't have a ski background. The stats on the race, something like 24 or 25 miles, 12,000 ish feet of gain. That's for the Power of Four. And what's epic, what's so cool, like you go through four different ski areas, starting in the Snowmass area at Snowmass Village, then Buttermilk, then Aspen Highlands. That's probably my favorite part of the course, going all the way up there and then down the Highlands Bowl, and then crossing over the road, coming up the backside of Aspen Mountain on a never-ending climb, it seems sometimes in the heat of the day, and then another challenging ski down into Aspen. So it's a hard race. It's a lot different. Listeners, check out a podcast we've also done about the Grand Traverse, detailing that. This is an entirely different race, like in some ways, almost a different sport in terms of being just so steep and technical uphill and downhill skiing. It's a two-person team race. You can do a men's team, a women's team, a co-ed team. They have a junior division, I saw. I think it's 17 and under. And that's pretty cool. You're seeing some youngsters out there. Often the Power of Two is won by, outstanding younger athletes. And you often even see family teams. So whether that's spouses, a parent and a child together, it's a great event, and it's huge. Another one starting early in the morning, in the dark. All these people out there, absolutely epic. Course record, Cam, do you know off the top of your head course record on Power Four?
Yeah, I think that's around, it's between 410 and 415. John Gaston and I, that was also in 2021.
Yeah, I thought it
Fast
was something
year.
like that. Yeah, And
Yeah.
and again, yeah, just epic how fast those times are. So great job, guys. All right, let's get into the course itself. Turn it over to Cam and Doug. Take us through. We got these four ski areas, distinct differences, challenging climbs. For me, even having done it a number of times, the downhill skiing for me is still harrowing. That first descent, going through all the chaos and people crashing all over. The Congo Trail, I have nightmares about all year long. What should we know about the course, guys?
Let me start by saying, if the Grand Traverse is reading a Grand Skimo novel, the Power of Four is playing a Skimo video game. So it's not the adventure and the epic that the Grand Traverse is. It is pure get up as fast as you can, get down as fast as you can, through difficult, steep terrain. Like, it's a lot more, um, yeah, up, down, and just has a lot of unique challenges in its own way. Doug, why don't you take us through the the challenges that are the Power of Four?
Yeah, so I think I've been head of course for this for 10 or 11 years. Uh, and I'm glad to say I won't be this year. I'm going on record right now saying, like, you can't get me back with a backpack of flags again this year. It's become an increasingly hard race to set. Back when Joe Reese and I used to do it, we had a lot of budget supplied to us for it. Now it's pretty much taken totally in-house by Aspen Ski Co. And the patrols have set the downhill, which has caused some concerns and some misdirection before, not just the patrols, but also our uphill. Like, it's just hard when a course is that big. You have a lot of different teams at each mountain setting the course. So following the track can be challenging. And I think the most important warning I have early is, even if it's super well flagged, when you're below the flags, because you're doing a fair amount of traversing here, once you're too low on the flags, there's no more flags. There's not wrong way flags saying you've gone too far down. We'll talk about especially on snowmass. But yeah, it's a very interesting race to go between the four mountains. If you're at the roundabout right before you enter Aspen, you can stop. Don't stop in the roundabout. Stop near the roundabout, and you can look and you can see Aspen Mountains directly above you. Highlands Bowl is way, way in the background, out towards like Pyramid Peak, and then you can see Buttermilk in the foreground, and then above that you can see Burnt Mountain and Snowmass, and you can see it all from one place, and it looks and it is very far. Like Cam said, I think it's probably got the easiest skinning on any race in Colorado, maybe with the exception of like the A Basin Rise and Shine that just happened, the first one of the year. That's just up the ribbon of death, as I think you guys called in the last podcast. But other than that, it is like very straightforward uphills. There's not a lot of kick turns. There's not a lot of kick and glide, and you're on pretty well maintained trails the whole time. But starting up Snowmass is definitely the most direct and probably the fastest most listeners here will ever go up 3,000 feet. It's a long climb, but very straightforward and a lot of energy because so many people start that race. So from the top there, we've done two different courses. And again, I can't speak exactly how it's going to go this year. It's become a little condition dependent. You leave Snowmass out a backcountry gate, and which is called Burnt Mountain, and you stay on this ridge that links Snowmass to Buttermilk. The skiing's very challenging already. It's not super steep, but there's lots of trees and very thin cover, and that can end your race pretty easily, whether by wrapping around a tree, breaking your ski in half on a rock, or, as I said, even very good racers have skied too far to the left, to skier's left, and ended up very off course. If you're always going as right as possible, you'll find the flags, though. The issue is there's one pocket that we call the Pit of Despair that gets very wind loaded because it's on the ridge and it's very hard to control, and it's outside of the ski area, so we can't really drop bombs on it. And in the past, we've used the government trail as the beeline. Not quite as scenic, certainly not as hectic of a ski. And I think Cam, you've done government trails in the past?
I never have. Yeah. It's I've always gone to the top of Snowmass and then traversed over.
I actually think if it goes that way, again, it's pretty irrelevant to the overall experience of the race. But I think it's very unique because it's undulating up and down skinning. So there's some technique involved there. And you end up usually consolidating the race more like a cycling race where there's groups together, and you're not redline like you tend to be in every Skimo race in the world. You can talk to people because it's really just how smoothly you can move on a pretty challenging track that doesn't gain a lot of elevation. Last year we went up the Sugar Bowls, which is like a classic backcountry ski zone off of Buttermilk, and then we did have some kick turns up there. If you stay on the ridge, there are kick turns, but maybe like 4 or 5 of them. There's not many.
Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, nothing to worry about. But again, it's pretty solar, so it does tend to get a refreeze, and the snow can be very quick if we didn't have any fresh snow lately, and pretty easy to get out of control. So just be really careful. There are not minutes to gain on that traverse. There's just seconds, and definitely lots of ways to lose it. You carry downhill from like a really beautiful viewpoint where you can see the Maroon Bells to your right, and then it'll be one final skin rip. You go down a little herringbone up to Buttermilk. You're actually not skiing up Buttermilk. You are, I guess I should say, in that traverse, there's a ski, and then you will have skins on to this point I'm talking about. And then you're going down Racer's Edge, which is the most far right line. So you just got to think about this course. You're always going right. Always stay as high and as right as you can. It's a steep groomer, but nothing to worry about there. Then you have to carry speed across the parking lot on about a foot of snow, a foot wide snow bridge that the volunteers are awesome enough to shovel across, so you don't have to annoyingly ruin your skis on the pavement. You go across what's got to be one of the most expensive footbridges in Colorado, but a really beautiful bridge over like a gorge. Very little bit of skate skiing. One tiny hill you got to make up by the Aspen Rec Center, and then you're on a bike path that once in a while we've been able to skate, but it would have to be dumping snow the day before and the day of for it to be skatable. So usually you're jogging that, which is an interesting element we'll get into. Get you to the base of Aspen Highlands. We rip up Aspen Highlands on Thunderbolt.
And now you're at the start of the Power of Two.
Yes.
You've gotten to the base of Highlands, and then now you might see Power 2 racers getting ready to go or having taken off, or just the remnants of that start line. And then now we're talking Power
Yeah.
2 course, which overlaps.
Yeah, so it'll all be unique from here. I would correct Travis. I heard Travis might be doing it this year, and just to warn him, if you're doing Power of 2, it's not half of a Power 4. It's like 85% of a Power 4 effort. This is it's probably the second hardest race, and it's only to the Power 4 being the top one. It's a lot of vert, still 8,000 feet to go at this point, and creek to peak, I should know this better, but I think it's 4,200 feet in one skin, which is pretty unique in Colorado. Like, you gotta usually go to the Alps to get that much relief on one skin. And Thunderbolt is the start of it. It's notorious. It's really hard. We'll get more into technique later. It's very steep. It gets you up half the mountain in, for Cam, probably like 15 minutes. And then you have a pretty cool feature of a little bit of single track skinning, a little bit of up and down on a ridge, and that'll get you to the Wine Ridge proper, which is kind of in between a few of the runs at the resort. That gets you up to the top of the bowl hike, which, just so people know, when it turns to single track, you are boot packing on Highlands Bowl. It is skinnable. When we train on it, we skin it a lot, but when we first started putting like the Cosmic Series together, this was supposed to encompass classic boot packs across, Wyoming and Colorado and New Mexico. So if traditionally it's a walk, then we would make it a walk. So this is the one mandatory boot pack of the day. So we're skis on our pack to the top of Highlands Bowl, and then a ripping ski down Highlands Bowl right down the gut. Can be hectic at times, especially in new snow on race gear. You get to the bottom of Temerity Lift, and there's a very obvious transition point. This is not skated. Have you ever tried to skate it, Cam?
No, and no one ever should. And I believe this run is called the Grand Traverse.
Yes,
which
I
is
think it's the Grand
misleading.
Reverse,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because it used to be before the lift was there, it used to be the way you had to go to get out of the bowl. And now you're getting back almost right to when you're touching the other runs of the resort. Again, you're far right on the resort as you can be. But right before you get back to where there's some decisions making, that's when you go down the dreaded Congo Trail. We'll debrief on that. It's a single track mountain biking trail, so now it's a single track, very hectic ski trail, which would get you to the bottom of Castle Creek Valley. A little aid station down there, and then Midnight Mine, an impossibly long road. Again, another 3,000 vert climb. And if you think you know how long a 3,000 foot climb normally takes you, assume at least 50% more, because it's a lot of miles and it's not very direct. Again, here we've had some course deviations in the past, but I think it's pretty set that we go straight to the sun deck. There are some hangfire avalanche slopes that I felt like years ago we couldn't control, but Patrol has just been bombing it. I think they're allowed to bomb those slopes when the race is coming. So we haven't had to divert it out to Richmond Ridge, which would share the same finish as Grand Traverse if we did. But it is a nice shortcut to get you to the sun deck. If you heard our last episode, you're back on course for the Grand Traverse. except the skiing is way harder. We don't send you down a groomer. It would go down Walsh's, which is a famous bump run, very, very steep, long bump run. Um, there used to be a tiny skate out, but they've improved this a lot because they put a new chairlift in. So if you haven't done it in a couple years, there's the new Heroes chairlift. It's pretty easy to go too far down Walsh's and end up at that chairlift, which is going to add a little ski out. So have your head on a swivel when it kind of comes to constriction. And then you are going on a groomer for a bit into Bingo Glades, as long as there's enough snow. This is very thin, steep tree skiing again, and that will take you down to Spar Gulch, which is the traditional Aspen uphill route, and avoids putting you on the course with the public. And that takes you down to Gondola Plaza, where the Grand Traverse ends again.
So as you can tell from how Doug described that, yeah, Travis, you and your son starting the Power 2, you get all the goods, as you know, as someone that's done this race plenty of times before. And I think that the stats and percentages on this can help a lot of how to conceive it. So let's look at that. First climb going up Snowmass is 18%, and that's a little over 3,000 feet. And that's all on a groomer, pretty smooth. There's not really any flat sections or sections much steeper than that. The Sugar Bowls climb, instead of 18, it's about 5.6%. So that's what Doug described. You're kind of just making your way across, but that's all natural snow midwinter. There's not going to be any skating there. You're just putting skins on and making your way across. So that's why it's often kind of a lower output section. And I'm just highlighting the climbs here. Then the climb up Highlands, including the bowl, average is 19%. There's a few flat sections in there, so then there's some steeper ones to average it out, like going up Thunderbowl's more like 30%. There's some flat sections going across, like near the merry-go-round lift, and then obviously hiking the bowl is a bit steeper, but that's 1,300 meters, so we're talking 4,300 feet, like Doug said, all in one shot. And then Midnight Mine averages 12. Oh, and then in between that, traversing over to the Congo. The reason I looked this up is if you asked if anyone should skate it, that's 10%.
That's pretty
Almost
steep.
500 feet of climbing. So yeah, no one
Yeah.
should be skating in there. So that kind of gives you a good idea as you isolate really what's 5 climbs, 3 big ones and a couple smaller ones, just to kind of know what to expect as far as output there. So then that informs skin choice, that informs pacing. So the way I would think of that is Snowmass, you can put whatever skin you like to use to climb up groomers in training, and you're going to make it up just fine. Kind of same thing with that traverse across. And I'm really isolating the climbs here because the skiing hasn't gotten too tricky yet, except for the short bit leaving Snowmass. And then I'll put on a wider or longer skin going up the start of Highlands because the Thunderbowl's so steep at that 30%. I need to make sure I'm efficient for that 30%, even though that's only about a quarter of the time I'm going to spend on this climb. Like, I need to make sure I'm not slipping there, and I'll sacrifice that glide on the flat parts going up towards Highlands.
I've
And then
blown
from
my
there, I'm going,
I was saying
yeah.
I've blown
And
myself up on Thunderbolt before. If you get those skins wrong, or if you try to use a fast pair and you have to use all arms just to keep from sliding back, you can really put yourself in a very deep hole on Thunderbolt.
Yeah. I've seen
yeah. And then
pileups where,
from
one person slides back and then you got 10 people sliding, falling together. It's just, especially if it's super slippery, it's just so steep on some of those sections and you got to be, practice the technique. Go ahead. Sorry, Cam.
Totally. Yeah. So my best advice is to have a grippy, durable, trustworthy skin to get up Highlands so that you don't have that inefficiency there. And then I'm going narrow, light, really well waxed skins for that climb over to the Congo and then up Midnight Mine. Because Midnight Mine doesn't get a lot of traffic in the winter. It's mostly people snowmobiling with a few crazy folks Nordic skiing and touring up there, maybe some extreme dog walking. But it's going to be less impacted snow that's not part of a ski resort. And so often that snow, by the time the sun's hitting it, at that time of day, once you've reached it, even if there's traffic in front of you, you can start to glob on your skins and have things get sticky. So well waxed, fresh pair of skins at the bottom of Midnight Mine that hasn't touched the snow yet, and your fastest, glidiest pair to make it up that long 11% climb. So yeah, that's my biggest advice, is getting the skin choice right on those particular climbs.
The cool thing
Excellent.
about Midnight Mine is Michael Polis, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with, bought a cabin on the backside of that, and he's been improving that Midnight Mine Road quite a bit for skinning. So it's
Oh, no
been,
way.
yeah, so it's like been perfectly groomed. I would kind of put this from our last podcast with like the Geo bonfire. Like we can't guarantee that it will be groomed, but if it is, it'll be an awesome surprise. And even in general, it's way less heinous than it's been in past years. A lot less snowmobile whoops that used to really do a number on people's feet. I guess we should talk about skiing. As important on the last episode as kick and glide skinning is for the Grand Traverse. Improving your downhill skiing is imperative for successful completion of this race. If
Yes.
there's one thing to do on a training, and we'll walk you through the skis. I covered Snowmass pretty well in Buttermilk, but we can talk about Highlands Bowl. But one training tip would be, if you are skinning a lot of groomers and this is your A race, you're probably fine. Skinning groomers will get you by. Do not come down the groomers in the morning. Like, that's not going to cut it. So it's not just how fast can you get back down. Start taking a lot of bump runs. Go out of your way to find the worst snow on the mountain and ski that when you're on your uphill training days.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if this works with the resort you're training on, of course. There's
Oh yeah, you
different
can't
access
do
in
that
different
at
places.
that's probably true. I was skinning up copper on a family vacation last year and bombing down lift line on a powder day. And I guess with all the patrol loading up, I don't think they love that there. So
Yeah, so great advice, but make sure that's permissible wherever you're skiing. But
yeah.
if you can't incorporate that as part of your training on ski resorts, then skiing in the backcountry on your little gear when you can, when it's safe conditions and you're able to get some practice in variable snow on your lighter gear. Ride chairlifts a little bit, that stuff. I give that advice, but I don't do it very often, just to save wear and tear on my equipment. But once in a while, I think that can be a great idea. And then the strength training and midwinter strength training, not just your 6 weeks class in the fall, but making sure your legs are ready for all that eccentric loading and demand that they're going to take on these descents, because you might be a decent skier, and you once you've done once you've done Highlands, Congo, like, if you don't have the strength, you just might be cooked. And it doesn't matter how fit you are, how good of a skier you are. If your muscles are torn up from those descents, then the Midnight Mine is going to be an extra hour than what you planned. So
Well,
yeah, you got to be ready for those demands.
and Highlands Bowl, I don't know if you have the stats there for how long a ski it is. It's probably 2,700 feet, right around there. 2,600.
Yeah. While you finish this thought, I'll
Well,
tell you what
well,
that descent is.
this is pretty unique, and even Aspen Mountain, like bump runs in Aspen Mountain, are pretty unique. Aspen's a very steep mountain. There's no easy way down, and the race goes out of the way to put you down the hardest ski. So to ski 3,300 feet of fall line skiing on race gear in bumps is like it is the crux of the race. And I do think even coming down the bowl, even if you could do it fast, uh, if you wear a heart rate, I don't know, Travis could probably speak to this. When I used to wear a heart rate monitor, because I don't really anymore, I would always be amazed that my descents were way more max than my ascents. So
Yeah.
skiing Aspen Mountain, like, you're gonna hit a heart rate of 180 plus. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
in people's rush to get down, they can put themselves in a pretty deep hole.
Yep. Yeah, it really is. You guys are right on. It really is a test of muscular endurance. And Cam, I love what you said about getting in the weight room. Depending on where you live, if you're not skiing a ton, keeping it going with downhill running, long downhill running descents can help, and then a lot of the weight room stuff that we've talked about on other episodes of Skimo Gold. And yeah, Doug, I would also add, it may come to a time, and these are good conversations to have with your teammate ahead of time. You may need to stop for a rest on the downhill. Like the top athletes, they're flying down the whole way because they're used to it. But if you're totally maxed out and your legs are blowing, stop for a minute or 30 seconds so that you can get down safely. And kind of like you said, that may save you time in the long run, in addition to safety. And then, of course, we can't get into all the details with fueling, but that really is a huge part of this, limiting muscular damage and keeping going by staying fueling and hydrated. Probably these days, most athletes are on a high carb fueling program for a race like this. And compared to the Grand Traverse, there is a little bit more access to water and resources along the way. So you probably can do it, better fueled, less dehydrated. Maybe taking an extra soft flask on that Midnight Mine climb. Like you said, that thing is long. It's often getting warm. If it's a hot, sunny day, I mean, you can just be sweating like crazy. So try not to get dehydrated if you can.
Yeah, if you're lucky to have some people out there supporting you, or you live locally, you actually can access the bottom of Highlands or that Midnight
Yes.
Mine Road crossing. There's not rules around that to my
Th-
knowledge, but
There is, they really don't want you accessing that Midnight Mine Road. So
got it.
that's a
Cool.
pretty
Good to
big
know.
point of
Yeah,
contention.
because that
So
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my next thought, is that if you do have someone that's willing to drive around in up these valley roads in the winter on your behalf, even if you did, then yeah, try not to count on that extra help, because we definitely can't have hundreds of people doing that. But I think the bottom of Highlands would be a great place to do that.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be 8 stations out there as well. And then think about this, like, a lot of times I think people take the attitude of it's a team race. The time stops when the second person crosses the line and you stay together the whole time. So it's sort of only as strong as the weakest link in the chain sort of thing. But try to, or I disagree with that, and try to open your mind to how you can work together as a team to get the team to the finish line faster. So do you have
Yes.
someone that's a stronger climber? And the obvious point there is, can they help tow a little bit in such a way that doesn't blow them up? Can they help carry some extra water? Can they help remind you to eat and drink? Can they help you pace well, or do you put the slower climber in front a little bit? And then the descents too, like if you have a really strong skier on the team, then go in front of your teammate, pick a really smooth line, don't ski all out, and then give them that sort of pacer and navigation guide so that they can just focus on making it down those descents nice and easy. And then if you did get ahead in whatever the distance you're allowed to get ahead in, or maybe you're a stronger transitioner, then throw one of their skins on for them while they eat and drink and just catch their breath for a second. Like, see how you can support each other out there and help the team get to the finish line in better shape.
Great advice. I love that downhill, teamwork kind of thing, because there's nothing like being the weaker skier and your teammate is leaving you and you're already on the ropes, and now you're, less safe and not skiing fluently, and it just makes everything worse. So great advice, Cam.
Yeah, the only part of the course we didn't really cover was the Congo Trail. It
Hmm.
is as sketchy as people make it sound. I used to think it
Yeah.
wasn't, because I tend to get down it pretty quickly, but I've become a little less risk adverse in past years, and I've also had some like pretty close calls where a little sapling will spin me up on one ski when I'm going too fast to really do anything. And I've always got the ski back down, but it is like very steep and narrow, especially what I would say is the entrance is the steepest part. So till the first switchback, go extra careful through there, keeping your confidence about you, because once you make the first right hand turn, it does let off and get a bit wider from there. Also, kind of like the Midnight Mine, positive news, I think there are a lot of people that train on this course now. and the Congo Trail will tend to get skied 10 times what it used to get skied before the race. So the track will be just a little bit wider. And I would just say, like, be very, very careful in that there. And if you can ski it before the race, I would really recommend it, because you can get through a lot easier and a lot safer if you know where those turns are coming. It's also, if you're coming to visit the Aspen Valley, it's a great uphill. So because when it's not racing, you can park at the bottom of Midnight Mine, like not really right where the Castle Creek intersects, but up where it becomes a snowmobile road. So you can go up there and you can train on those two and not have to go right in the belly of the beast to Aspen. You can go up Congo, it's beautiful, it's super quiet, and it's definitely backcountry skiing. So bring your avalanche safety gear. But when you're in there, you can take a little more stock of where the turns are, where you can like let it out a little, and when you can take it in. So if you get the chance, I really recommend it. It's a good place to gain course knowledge.
Awesome.
Great
Those are
advice, Doug.
are great. Yeah, great bits of advice. And this race has some really hard descents, and it happens in February now, and there's a lot of winter to be had afterwards. So as Doug says, signing off on the Totally Deep podcast, just stay safe out there.
Yeah, well said.
Very good. Yeah. Well, guys, thanks a ton. It's been great to talk with you about the Power of Four, Power of Two listeners. Again, please be sure to check out the other episode we did about the Elk Mountains Grand Traverse ski race. Two very different things. You can do them both in the same year. Many people do. And if you're thinking about which one to do, listen to these podcasts, because they're vastly different experiences. You know, not one better than the other, just different things. Have a good one, everyone. Hope to see you all out there at the Power of Four and beyond. Hey, folks, thanks as always for listening to Skimo Gold. We are proud to bring you the premier podcast and YouTube show for ski mountaineering, interviews, and race analysis. We got a lot coming at you here in 2026. Interviews every single week throughout the spring. Many weeks we're going to have a normal interview and some race analysis. I am super excited to be expanding our offering. Most of those race analysis episodes, this is after the World Cup races. It's going to be me and the one and only Katie Friend. If you've been watching the ISMF on YouTube for years, you will know Katie's wonderful voice and incredible intellect. We're going to be working together to bring you race analysis after the World Cup events, after Olympics, after Pierre Menta, maybe some other ones as well. So we are super pumped to bring you that in addition to the regular interview episodes. And that's not it. Buckle up. Olympics, get ready. February 6th through February 22nd, we are bringing you a very special package known as Skimo Gold's Olympic Dispatch. More to come later. I don't want to tell you all the details, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be in depth. We've already recorded interviews with many athletes who have not done any English language interviews before. This is going to be cool. So get ready, folks, for Skimo Gold in 2026. Thank you for being part of the team. Let us know what kind of content you want. Hit us up on Instagram, those DMs, or on YouTube. Put in the comments, what do you want? Who do you want us to interview? What kind of content are you looking for? We want this platform to support the community, the listening and viewing audience, the athletes, and also the brands we work with. We're working together. It's in favor of all of those groups. So let us know how we can support you. If you want to support us, share this episode out with someone else. Hit that share button on YouTube or on your podcast player. Like, rate, review, subscribe. All of that's really helpful. You can check out my website, travismacy.com. That's helpful too. And be sure to follow our guests and hosts on Instagram. Look up Cam Smith, look up Katie Friend, look up Doug in Cripple Creek Backcountry. Really want to support them and our other collaborators as well. All right, folks, keep it real. I hope that you're finding some snow. Happy New Year. We will catch you next time on Skimo Gold.